Hey everybody. I wanted to jump on and share this adorable story from our dinner table last night. My little 5-year-old guy that you see on here often came rushing into the house after school. He was so excited and he says to me, Mommy, I had a kiss today. I had a kiss. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, I kissed this girl. And he said her name. I won't say her name, obviously. And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, I asked her. He said, I got consent and then we kissed real quick. And I was like, oh my God, well, tell me all about it. So he was so proud of himself that he had this moment, right? And that he got consent. He was more proud about that. And that just like warmed my heart. We have been talking to my son, predominantly I have been talking to my son since he was 6 months old about consent and touch and safe touch and who touches you and when they touch you, and that you always say, may I or can I, that you always ask permission before you touch someone or before you do anything. And so he was so proud of himself. It was adorable. I mean, I'm a little concerned that he's 5 and he already kissed a girl, but whatever, it happens. But he was so proud of himself. Like, he even came into my office and he wrote down, he said, I asked her if I could kiss her. And then he wrote down the word yes. And he said, she said that. And I was like, oh, buddy. And so then we had like this whole conversation about consent and how important it is to ask permission and how much better the experience is when someone is comfortable with what you're doing. And so I said, well, how did it feel, Victor? And he said, well, she told me it felt like floating on a cloud. I mean, how adorable is this? And I said, well, how did it feel for you? He's like, it felt like candy. I mean, seriously, I don't think I could have written a better first kiss experience for my kid if I wanted to. Then as we were talking more and as we started to sit down at the dinner table and talk a little bit more about it, then he started to say how, because I said, where did this happen and how did it happen? And you're really not supposed to be doing that at school. Like, I don't think you're allowed to do that. And he said, oh, well, it was on the playground and it's a secret. And that's when I was like, okay, we need to unpack that. And I started to talk with him about how he knows that in our house, we don't have secrets. And so I explained to him how that needs to extend in all aspects of his life, that we don't have secrets, and we especially don't have secrets around intimacy and relationships. And so I applauded him for not keeping it a secret and telling us. And then obviously I had to talk with him a little bit about appropriate conduct at school and how, the reason you think it was a secret for school or you needed it to be a secret at school is because you're really not supposed to be doing that at school. And I saw his little brain and he got it, but he was so elated and excited about the experience that I think some of it penetrated, but some of it didn't. But it was a great conversation. And the reason I'm sharing this with you is because so often when I do trainings or when I give lectures, people ask me, how do you talk to kids? How do you speak to children about this stuff? Because it's uncomfortable. Quite frankly, it's only uncomfortable if you're uncomfortable with it, right? Your kid's not going to be uncomfortable because they don't know any different. They're going to start to be uncomfortable when they feel your discomfort with the subject, or when they feel you closing off when they try to introduce topics or conversations. So first and foremost, you have to be comfortable and open and willing to have these conversations with your kids so that they're not hard conversations, so that they're just these matter-of-fact moments. We did that really early on with Victor, with safe touches, good touches, all of that. Like when I would be changing his diaper, I would say, this is your penis, and I am only touching it for cleaning purposes, and it should be a very momentary thing. The doctor gets to do that very momentarily. Nobody should spend a prolonged amount of time in your area, either in the front or the back, right? That goes beyond appropriateness. And as we would say this all the time, he would repeat it to us. So it became just like a normal conversation that we had, just like you're supposed to wear socks with sneakers, right? It was no different. That's how you need to approach prevention with kids. And then be open to having these conversations. Do not shame your child anytime they bring something to you, right? That's probably the single worst response you could have. Like, if he would have come in and said this to me yesterday and all of my alarm bells would have gone off, like, well, you shouldn't really be doing this in school and on the playground. And if I would have immediately just kind of gone at him from like a rules perspective or like a punitive perspective, he would have shut down. And he would have never, ever told me another story like that again, right? If I would have been like, you're not allowed to do that at school, and Victor, you shouldn't have done that, da 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 da. All that does is immediately shut somebody down, and it shames the shit out of them. So you've got to be aware of all that, and you've got to be open to having these conversations. So instead, we celebrated the moment with him. And then my wife and I shared like our first kiss experiences with him. And, you know, it was cute. And he asked, he's like, well, when did you have your first kiss? And, you know, we let him know. And it kind of got me thinking, like, I had my first kiss when I was in 4th grade on the school bus as a result of being utterly shamed by my teacher for expressing that I liked a girl in class. I let a boy kiss me on the bus, and it wasn't a good thing. And so I kind of explained that to him. I didn't go into all of the details because he's 5, right? You have to keep it age appropriate. But then I explained to him, but the first time I kissed a girl, I said it was like fireworks. And his eyes just lit up, and he goes, yeah, right? And so you can have those conversations with your children that seem kind of hard and challenging and scary, and you can make them really easy and normal. And I'm so proud of my little guy that he came home and he shared that with us, and that he was excited and that he felt safe enough to do that, and that it went into that place of talking about secrets. Because here's the thing, predators and abusers and those people that are going to seek your children out to harm them are going to surround them in shame. They're going to encase them in silence. They're going to do everything they can to manipulate them, to get them to not share and to not be open and to not speak. And that's how sexual violence survives. And so if we can start at the very fundamental level, at all aspects in our lives, with ourselves and with our children, about shattering that silence and making it normal to have these conversations, we're going to raise a generation that is going to potentially end sexual violence, or that will be able to stop it when they see it, understand it when it happens to them, and feel safe enough to disclose sooner, right? That's the goal. We know that sexual violence is the single most underreported crime in our country, in the world. We don't talk about it. It happens far too often. If you think it's not happening, you're ignorant to the whole thing. The statistics are disturbing. And the majority of the times, it's going to be somebody you trust. It's going to be somebody in your direct circle, in your family, in your life. And I don't say this to scare you. I say this to empower you. Because if you can give your child the tools and the comfort and the ability to speak about these topics freely, to know what they are when they're happening, they're going to be able to disclose quicker. They're going to be able to feel empowered. They're going to know on a just a knowledge level that what's happening to them is wrong, right? Because if you're never told anything and somebody begins to groom you and engage you and do those things to you, you're not going to necessarily know that it's wrong because nobody's told you that it was wrong. You're going to think that that's what sex is, that that's what love is. Right? So we have to empower our kids with information. We've got to educate them, and we've got to keep the conversation going constantly, right? So I just wanted to come on and kind of share that because I think it's super important. I was so proud of him. And, you know, this is going to be an evolution. It's going to be a constant conversation. And I'm not saying that he's going to come to me and tell me everything, but the fact that he came to us and he told us that last night, and I'm really proud that the thing he was the most proud about was that he got consent. So, job done for today. Thanks.